How many times have you spent $50 on one card only to find it $20 a couple of months later? Well, that's not because you bought the wrong card, but rather you bought at the wrong time. So today, I'm giving you 8 things to look out for before you dump your life savings into shiny cardboard. Let's go. But before all that, we gotta decide what kind of buyer are you? Because today, we are talking merely about singles. And singles, unlike sealed, have their own clock. They usually get more attractive when hype dies, supply finally spreads, and the market gets bought. So let's start with where most people get it wrong. Release week, the loudest part of the market. And for most modern singles, this is where people usually overpay because hype feels like scarcity. The card looks impossible to get, the price are out of whack, and you really have a legitimate fear of missing out. Everybody acts like if you don't buy now, you'll never own it. But most of the time, that's not real scarcity. That's incomplete distribution. More product will be open, more singles will be listed, supply has not fully spread yet. Take Ascended Heroes for example. The thing came out in January, so many people are stressing over the prices right now. But the truth is, the main product hasn't dropped yet. Yes, the ETBs are out. Yes, the 2-pack blisters are out. But what about the booster bundles? That's April 20th. That's not full supply. That's merely the trailer. The real flood comes later. Most people don't buy too late. They buy too loud. So if buying early is usually the mistake, when does a true window open up? Hey, it's Elmo. Well, for most modern singles, it's 6 to 8 months after launch. This is where things start to get interesting. By then, the release hype is dead. The next sets have stolen the spotlight. Supply is finally mature and the market is bought. Like this guy. This is when a set stops feeling like an event and starts feeling normal. And this is exactly why it becomes attractive. The best time to buy singles is not when everybody agrees that it's amazing to have, but it's when the hobby has already moved on to the next shiny toy. You buy only when supply is everywhere and attention is nowhere. And that's the general rule. But some cards usually do not follow that rule. And that is where the support line comes in. Because not every single card crashes on schedule. Some cards take longer to fall, some hold stronger than expected, and some break way faster than you think. And a lot of that comes down to 2 things, the Pokemon and the artwork. A random card is one thing, but a Mega Charizard or a Gengar that the hobby instantly falls in love, those are different. These cards need special attention. And this is where there is no lazy shortcut. You watch the comps, you check the apps, you study the historical life cycles, you compare it to old monster cards, Gengar VMAX, Mega Gengar, and old hype patterns. Because sometimes a card keeps drifting downwards and downwards and downwards, and then it suddenly stops. Well, the golden rule is, if a card holds the same price or so for 2 or 3 weeks, with steady sales and refuses to break any lower, that is the support line. That's the market saying, alright, that's a fair value. I'm gonna bring out my wallet. This is where demand starts absorbing supply. And once a strong card proves it can hold itself over and over again, the only way now is up. Well, the truth is, you have to think about the calendar as well, because that's where the seasonal liquidity slumps comes in. Whether you like it or not, the US market still drives a huge amount of Pokemon supply as well as demand. And that market has a seasonal rhythm. Generally, summer, usually softer. Money goes into holidays instead of hobbies. Like some dude might wanna sell all his Pokemon cards just to buy a jet ski. True story, by the way. And in the winter, usually stronger. It's the time of gifting. And what better way of making a child happy than to give him a box of shiny cardboard? But not every card, not every year, but as a general rhythm, this matters. Sometimes the card didn't change, the season did. And timing isn't only about money leaving the hobby. The Japanese crystal ball. The Japanese market can often act like a crystal ball. Not perfectly, not every single time, but often enough to matter. Japanese cards release earlier and have guaranteed pull rates. It strips away the illusion of rarity and shows you what cards the market actually loves. At first, everybody stares at the obvious singles, then time passes and one card quietly starts separating. This matters. Because sometimes Japanese cards reveals the truth of a card before everything catches up. Not in a copy-paste way, but rather in a pattern recognition way. However, the move is not to blindly chase Japanese pricing. Because when another market starts showing demand, you should pay attention. And even with all the signals, the market sometimes makes one mistake over and over again. They only want what already looks safe. And that is where the ugly duckling test comes in. And this is where the market picks its golden child and gets it completely wrong. Take Paldean Fates for example. At launch, Shiny Charizard was the best boy ever. While meanwhile, Bubble Mew was sitting around what? Now, look at the card. The market's first answer is not always the correct answer. Because once the dust settles, people stop pricing what feels obvious and start pricing with what they're actually obsessed with. And in this case, everybody said, Bubble Mew, I like you. The market doesn't just price rarity, it prices obsession. So when the crowd tells you the answer, immediately be careful. Sometimes the real winner is hiding in plain sight. And after all that, there's still one final rule bigger than any chart, any market, any sign, any whatsoever. The roller coaster effect. Because even you buy the right card at the right time, that doesn't mean the ride becomes smooth. Buyouts happen, spikes happen, corrections happen, people panic, people FOMO, prices start flying, and suddenly everybody is acting like this is the new normal. Well, it isn't. And if you do not know how to hold your nerve, this hobby will eat you up. Because one week you feel like a genius, and the next week the market goes nuts. And honestly, if you want my take, this is a horrible time to be overcommitting. Prices are out of whack, speculative money is all over the hobby, and you never know, might exit anytime, and everybody thinks they are a market genius. Finance bros, Bitcoin bros, sneaker bros, all over Pokemon. So if you're buying right now, fine, but don't go full
Simple Jack.
Oh, I can't say that. Don't go full maniac on it. Don't confuse temporary insanity for permanent value. Because when the wider world gets shaky, like the current geopolitical climate, collectibles do not magically become safe just because there's a Charizard printed on it. So if you're buying serious singles right now, especially high-end ones, like the Charizards, like the Gengars, you gotta have some discipline. Not just timing, not conviction, discipline. Because good buying is not just about entry, it's about what you do when the market starts going crazy. And if you really need this money back next month, then it was never truly the time to buy. So what is the exact time to buy Pokemon cards? Well, for most cards, it's when the hype dies, supply peaks, and it stops dropping, usually about 6 to 8 months in. But don't forget, look out for the ugly ducklings, see what Japan's doing, and keep an eye out on the season. And remember, it's a roller coaster ride. So the next time a new set drops and everybody starts screaming, don't ask, should I buy right now? You should be asking, is this the real demand or just noise? I'll see you in the next one. Stay shiny. Okay, Rexy, we're off. I'll see you.